Okay, how's it going? Good. Is the sound good, everyone? Can everyone hear me well? Yeah? Okay, perfect. All right, so basically, as a continuation from what we've been doing, what I want to train on today is I want to spend some time specifically from the needs analysis all the way again to the T-chart. And what are some of the little things that maybe you could be doing differently to get better results, you know? This is the money-making part of the presentation. And when I say it's the money-making part of the presentation, it's the part that, you got to make sure you're able to execute, not to take away from the importance of referrals, which we've been talking about, not to take away from anything else. Javier, how are you? Good, good. I got to congratulate a couple people here. Both Javier and Pires, I believe, have their first piece of business for this last week. So let's put our hands together for them here, actually. So moving on. So I want to talk specifically about the needs analysis, some of the nuances that maybe you could incorporate when you're doing it. A couple of the things that I do that work really, really well in combination with playing the life insurance video before that, and some of the things that we do in the needs analysis that I think that if you incorporate those into your presentation, some of them are already on the script. But sometimes, if you miss something on the script, or if you deliberately or unintentionally omit it, okay, you need to know it's gonna have an effect on your presentation, either positive or negative. Everything in your presentation counts. Everything either gets you closer to selling it or further from selling it, okay? And sometimes you may not realize that what you're doing is getting, she can join on, her Zoom is not working? On the phone, online, on the computer. Oh, she's trying, okay. All right. So anyways, so based on that, I want to spend time on the needs analysis, the questions on the needs analysis, how we transition from the needs analysis to the mandatory read-off letter, and then from the mandatory read-off letter to playing the first video, and then the T, okay? The T chart that we're training on, the T chart that we did on Monday. I'm gonna do another one today, and how to close on all those things, okay? I think that obviously with just practice and confidence every time you're in front of a client, if you can get it to the point where you're not thinking about it, you're just, you're going through it, and you're going through it with confidence. Remember something, anytime you're getting close to asking anyone to spend money, right? If you are fidgety, if you are, not solid, if you sound like you're not sure, actually, what you're telling them or what you should be telling them or what they should be doing, then there's no reason why they should be purchasing from you. Think about that, Put yourself in the client's shoes. How would you feel confident in someone that, doesn't seem like they're 100% sure about what they're doing, You wouldn't feel confident, and you probably wouldn't want to buy from that person, okay? A lot of the times, they're going to buy from you because if you deliver a presentation on the T and on the needs analysis where you're just going through it in a systematic way, and you're going to the end, and it seems like you're very sure about what you're doing. I know the feed is going in and out, but I think they see me, right? It's just for us here that the feed goes in and out. What's that?
Check your HDMI cable. If it's wiggling, that's the only thing that would cut it out.
Yeah, that is exactly what's cutting it out. Yeah, the HDMI cable. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, but they can see it. You can see me and you can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. So it's just here that it escapes, right? As long as they have the audio and that, it's fine. So anyways, I want you to be conscious of this, I want you to be conscious of this, and I always want you to think of this part of the presentation, the part that you really have to earn in terms of the business, of course, from the client, and think of it as it's the landing of the airplane, okay? Which is actually the landing of the airplane, okay? So if you become really good at the introduction of the presentation, right? But you can become really good from the needs analysis on, right? You're going to struggle. Simple. okay? It's the equivalent of a pilot who can take off the plane but can't land it, okay? You know, what happens to that pilot? Well, first of all, he shouldn't be a pilot, okay? A pilot is one that can safely take the crew off and the passengers into the air, navigate the flight, the course, and then take that plane down, right? What if, about, you know when you're traveling and they start saying, you know, we're going to approach landing, please buckle your seatbelt, and whatever else they say, right? Turn your turntables upright position and whatever, right? Imagine the pilot says to you, well, this is, or the captain, pilot, whatever, captain, says, listen, I am not really sure what I'm doing here. I'm going to try my best to get us down on the ground. How would you feel at that point? Would chaos break loose at that point? It would, wouldn't it? So as crazy as that sounds, if you are not bang on, spot on from your needs analysis all the way to option 1 and option 2, no, there's not going to be chaos. They're not going to start, you know, standing up and shouting, but the result will be they're not going to have the confidence in you to give you their business, okay? You have to earn that with your presentation, okay? So what I want to do today is I want to spend time just on that, just on the needs analysis all the way to the T-chart and the close, okay? And I'm just going to tell you what I do. And I use the script, but I add a lot to the script, okay? I don't change the essence. I don't change the basic recipe. The basic recipe you all have. You've given the words to use. I'm going to tell you what I do over and above those words to make it a little bit more powerful, a little bit more stronger, to give it a little bit more oomph, okay? So first of all, right, what is the last video that is played before the needs analysis?
Life insurance video.
The life insurance video. Okay, here's the first thing I need you to do. And some of you are doing this already. Some of you may not be doing this already. When the life insurance video says the top 5 causes of death in Canada, I want you to pause it at that point, okay, and ask both John and Mary if there's any of these conditions running in their family. At that moment in time, you need to make a mental note of whatever they say, okay? And I'm going to tie them in later on when I ask my needs analysis question. So if I role play this right now, let's say this is John and this is Mary, okay? So I pause the video. So John and Mary, do any of these things run in your family? Yeah, which one in your family, John? Due to cancer? I'm sorry to hear that. Okay. What about heart disease or stroke? No? No? And Mary, on your side, your grandmother passed away from heart disease. Okay, so basically heart disease and cancer on your side, John, and just heart disease on your side. Mary, any cancer on your side? No, thank goodness. Okay, thank goodness. So I stay there for a few seconds, okay? I absorb whatever they're telling me, okay? I have some compassion with whatever they're sharing with me. I lost so-and-so to cancer. I lost so-and-so had cancer, because they're sharing something with you right now where they lost a loved one, right? So you need to have some compassion in your voice. Your tone has to match the theme, actually, okay? Let me tell you how crucial this is, okay? I was once with an agent, and I wanted to actually put my hand below the table. I actually wanted to hide. I wanted to leave. I contemplated asking them to, can I just leave now? Okay? Because it got so bad. Because the guy said, I said to the guy, listen, this is what you're going to do. You're going to ask those questions. And whatever they say, be compassionate, because they're sharing information that is touching. Okay? When somebody shares about, you know, your family member having had a disease or dying from a disease, right? Okay, no problem. He got nervous. Anyways, here's what he did, right? Any of these conditions run in your family? The guy say, yeah, well, I had a heart attack, he said. Oh, yeah, well, that's pretty neat, the guy says to him, right? And the guy looked at him and said, okay. And it was just this awkward silence, right? And I didn't know what to do at that point in time. I was just looking at the gentleman and I was like, all right, he said it's neat to have a heart attack, right? So it sounds funny, but trust me, in that moment, it was so awkward. You have to make sure that moment, when you're asking the questions about the family history, you show compassion. You show that, okay, you know what? And especially, folks, come on, how many of you actually, in your own families, have had people that had heart disease, cancer, or stroke? Please raise your hand. There you go. Okay? So connect at that point with the client. Connect and saying, you know what, yeah, it runs in my family too. Okay? So I completely understand it. If they say they lost a loved one due to cancer, you know, show that compassion. You know, people will connect with you if you give them the opportunity to connect with you. Okay? People will not connect with you if you don't give them the opportunity to connect with you. Okay? That's in your control. So, you got that? We stop at the life insurance video, top 5 causes of death north of Canada, sorry, and you take note of that. Okay, now take note of that. Remember what they say by repeating it, because you're going to use it a couple of minutes later. Okay? So the needs analysis finishes, right? The script, I believe, says, now that you have better knowledge about the different types of coverage, let's go ahead and do your needs analysis and see what you may qualify for and take it from there. Something along those lines, right? Javier, am I on script? I'm on script. Okay, good, good. He's fresh out of class. Okay, so I can check with him. Okay? All right. So no matter what lead type, with the exception of POS, if you're working unions, if you're working referrals, or if you're working child safe leads, okay, the next line should be, there's 3 ways to qualify for our programs, okay? If it's a union lead, right, we're going to say you have to be a member of the union in good standing. You are, that's why they mailed you the letter, right? The second is you have to qualify during the enrollment period. The enrollment period is when you receive the letter. It starts when you receive the letter. It ends after I leave your home today, okay? And number 3 is you have to qualify health-wise, okay? Now, you did mention, John and Mary, that there's many of these things that run in your family, unfortunately. What am I doing? Is I'm bringing back the fact they told me just 3, 4, 5 minutes ago that so-and-so and so-and-so and so had cancer or heart disease or a stroke, correct? So I'm reminding them of that. Because remember, sometimes people say, I want to think about it, and it's really silly, actually, because if you do a good enough presentation where you bring back the facts that they shared with you, they shouldn't want to think about it. Think about that. Why should someone that has lost family members to cancer, heart attack, stroke, doesn't have coverage, be thinking about it? Think about that, right? They shouldn't. Sometimes the presentation is not strong enough to address those objections before they become objections. I'll tell you right now, I'll teach you how to make presentations so that at the end, it's really just option 1 or option 2, okay? Because if your presentation doesn't overcome objections before they become objections, then what happens is you have to wrestle in closing. And I don't like wrestling in the close, okay? And just because some of you may be really good in persuading people to do it, I much rather them persuade themselves to do it. You know why? Because I want that business on the books, okay? You know, so this class is not going to be about overcoming objections, okay? Yes, we're going to train how to overcome objections. I'm not saying or suggesting that you shouldn't become good at closing. No. What I'm saying, though, my school of thought is get really good at presenting so you don't have to struggle too much at closing. Does that make sense? Right? So I love to close without closing, right? The close is already done. By the time I get to option 1 or option 2, there's not a question whether or not they're going to take it. The only question is which option they're going to do. Okay? You know, because all the work was done before. All the setup was done before, right? So if it's a union lead, there's 3 ways to qualify. If it's a child safe lead, same thing. There's 3 ways to qualify. You have to qualify based on your age, your health, and you have to qualify during our enrollment period. Our enrollment period starts when you requested a child safe kit on Facebook or the internet. It ends after we leave today. Okay? Same thing. If it's a referral presentation, can you say the same thing? There's 3 ways to qualify, right? During the visit, your age, and your health. There you go. So you can use that with any presentation type. So on a union lead, you're going to say you have to be a member in good standing, which you are. That's why you received the letter. You have to qualify during the enrollment period, which ends after I leave today, and you have to qualify based on your health. Okay? Now, I recommend you say health last in every one of those. I'll tell you why. Because upon you finishing that, right, then you're going to get the date of birth for everyone there, right? So you confirm your date of birth. That's the next step, right? You take the date of birth, husband, wife, and children, right? And since health was the last question you asked, it segues really well into the next thing, right? So now, John and Mary, I'm going to ask you some health questions. Now, these ones only pertain to you guys and your kids, okay? So although you told me there's a heavy history of this, and this on your side, and Mary, this, and this on your side, what am I doing again? I'm reminding them what they said to me, okay? These questions only pertain to you guys, okay? And then I believe the first question is, any history of cancer? Is that the first question on the needs analysis? Yeah, cancer. The next one is insulin diabetes, right? The next one is heart attack, right? The next one is Alzheimer's, am I correct? Or oxygen equipment? Oxygen equipment, okay? Then terminal illness, Alzheimer's, right? And tobacco, right? Those are the questions. So you're going to go through those questions like that, okay? Make sure you're asking the tobacco question, have you used any form of tobacco? Don't ask people, are you a smoker or non-smoker? Because here's what I've seen happen. Oh, yeah, man, I'm a non-smoker, man. Non-smoker, right? Wife's in front of him, right? Oh, he's a non-smoker. Oh, yeah, he doesn't smoke. He quit smoking a year ago. He's been off, okay? We're so glad that you did, John, okay? Then you pull out a saliva sample, and then they start looking at you like, what are you going to do with that? We're going to swab you. Where? In my ear? No. In your mouth, right? You know what happens is some people believe they're non-smokers, but what happens is they go out socially. What do? They'll have a cigarette. But I'm a non-smoker. I just had a cigarette with my friends, but that doesn't mean I smoke, right? They're smokers, okay? So the correct question is always, have you used any form of tobacco in the last 12 months, okay? And when they say no, I always confirm that answer. So you guys completely non-smokers, completely, like full-time, not even a puff, nothing at all, nothing. And I wait for them to say, yeah, nothing, completely. It's almost like I want them to say no more than once on that question, just to make sure, okay? Some of you have been taught to also ask the marijuana question at that point in time, okay? I agree with that, okay? Though it's not part of the script per se. I know Reggie has taught it in class. I know your managers have taught it because apparently today a lot of people smoke marijuana, okay? And it's something that you need to note at that point in time, okay? Keep in mind, if somebody smokes marijuana on a daily basis, they are automatically declined, okay? They cannot purchase coverage. If somebody uses marijuana 3 to 4 times a week, it'll trigger a physical exam. 2 to 3 times a week, it's okay. Typically 1 or 2 times a week, it's fine. We've seen policies issued standard, even with 1 to 2 times a week, okay? Always make sure, though, that if they use marijuana, you have to add an alcohol and arrest questionnaire, okay? So though they're going to answer no to the arrest or alcohol questions, okay, make sure you add that questionnaire manually on your e-app. Yes, Christine? Correct. And individuals that use marijuana typically qualify for smoker rates, okay? So don't know if that's going to change in the future. It may not. It's out of our control right now, but typically people that use marijuana do not qualify for non-smoker rates, okay? Just so you know, all right? Okay, moving on. So you asked the needs analysis questions. The next 2 questions are the probation and parole, correct? And then there's one more question you should be asking at that point in time, and that is, do you take any form of medication, okay? So if they say to you at that point in time, what are you guys sharing there? Dentine? Cool. No, I'm good. Yeah. It's just, I'm talking about marijuana and drugs, and I see things passed on, It's like, oh, take this here. Yeah, I know. I know. Anyways, so the next question is the medication question. Make sure you ask that question at that point in time, okay? And I'll tell you, it's not that at this point, it's very important you know who is insurable and who's not insurable. And I'll tell you right now, many times, if you don't make a decision at this point as to who you will put on the offer, here's what will happen to you. You may leave everything the way it is, and all of a sudden you have someone that you shouldn't be really including, and you're going to find how easy it is to sell that policy, actually. Because they're going to say yes, but then at the end, as more stuff is going to surface, let's say, you're going to realize that this person probably shouldn't be even on the offer or in the survey. Shouldn't have been in the survey. Should have been excluded from the survey. Okay, and that's why you want to take your time in the needs analysis to identify. So here's how I want you to think about it. I want you to think about the needs analysis in a way where it's your job. Your job is to properly identify who should be insured and who should not be insured. You have to identify at that point in time. If you are identifying people who shouldn't be insured in your application, you're too late. And here's what's going to happen. They may purchase it, but they may purchase it just because the ill person or the person with conditions, they're hoping they're going to get it. And then what happens is they don't get it, or they're rated, and it jeopardizes your whole sale. Because in their mind, they're thinking, you know what? Maybe we can get him covered, or the kids covered. With kids, it's even more sensitive, actually. Okay? So make sure on your needs analysis, you make that decision. And it's simple, folks. Put the coverage on the healthy person. And be honest about it. Just be honest about it. Sometimes, well, how do you tell someone they can't qualify? Exactly like that. You can't qualify. And more often than not, they know. And you know what? They'll appreciate honesty. Okay? I'll never forget this couple because I was with Christine actually in Sudbury back in 2014. Okay? And his name is Alexander, and his name is Terry. They're a gay couple, actually. And the truth is that, we walked in and it was visible to me that I could not insure Alex, okay? And he knew about it. I mean, we got to the needs analysis, and I just looked at him, and I looked at his husband, and I said, yeah, I don't think, he says, yeah, we know. Well, we know. Yeah, we've tried with the bank, with this, we've tried. He can't get insurance anywhere. I go, well, guess what? There may be something here that we have that you may qualify for, that it's my job to make sure I present to you. It was $89 a month of a cancer plan. Okay, that policy is still on the books. Every time I've gone up to Sudbury, I go eat at his restaurant. Okay, he owns a restaurant. Okay, and I can tell you, they looked at it. It was no objections, by the way. $89, no problem. Right, done. Okay, and they took the cancer plan on the person who could get it. The other spouse was well insured, and that's it, right? So, but the decision was made at the needs analysis. I didn't have to go through an application and waste their time and my time, actually. Because if something is on the underwriting flash sheet, don't put it. Seriously, don't put it. If it already hits the underwriting flash sheet, don't put it on the offer. Exclude it from the application. Save yourself the time to have to go through an application that we know it's not going to get approved. And again, it's a needs analysis thing. When you're at the needs analysis and you uncover that there's other health conditions, at that point in time, you have access to the flash manual, to the flash sheet and the underwriting manual on the top right-hand side of the e-app. Click help. Is it help? Yeah, help. Click help. Scroll down. You have the underwriting manual, and you have the flash sheet right there. Recently, I was with somebody actually, and I think the day I was with Vania out, and we went into this household actually, and let's put it this way, we were there about 15 or 20 minutes. Vania, do you remember the naked 8-year-old?
Yeah. Very well. The naked what? The naked 8-year-old. I have never seen someone keep their composure in a situation like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So anyways, there was unfortunately he was autistic, okay, and the mother was trying to control him anyway. She was very unsuccessful. In any case, we got to the needs analysis pretty quickly, and determined that there was absolutely nothing to do for the mother, for the grandmother who was there, who very quickly admittedly to the use of substances, and then the only chance we had is to insure the 2 other children that were there, because there's 3 children, but we couldn't insure him because actually he was less than 8 years old actually, which the rule is if they're autistic they have to be over 8, right, to be insured, right? So, or less than 8, over 8. Oh, something like that. Anyways, it's on the flash sheet. Anyways, but here's the point I'm trying to make is I was on the laptop, I pulled out my flash sheet, and I made a decision right there, what to even show at that point in time. So you need to make sure that you make that decision in your needs analysis, okay? And I can't stress this enough, folks, because many times the reason why you may make it more difficult for yourself and for the client is if you start putting insurance on people you shouldn't be putting insurance, you know? And think about this for a second. I've seen this happen many times where somebody buys $120 a month, let's say. $70 on the husband, $50 on the wife, so let's call it $135, and a $15 A71, right? But the wife is not insurable, or the husband's not insurable, whoever. The problem with that is it should have been all the coverage on the one person. And then what happens is even if they don't cancel the other one, you could have left with a higher ALP and more insurance on the person that should have had the insurance. Instead of, well, now she's got 70 and he's got 50, or vice versa, whatever, but one got declined. You see what I mean? So you got to make those decisions right there, right? And it's in your needs analysis. It's in your needs analysis where you make that decision. All right, clear on that? Good? Yeah?
With the autism thing, is it that they are diagnosed under 8 or they're in front of you over 8 years old?
Okay, one second.
Under the age 8, it's not about time.
So less than 8 is automatic decline.
Just because I can't properly diagnose it.
Correct. Yeah, so Tara, if it's 8 or less, it's automatic decline.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's on the flash sheet there at the bottom. Actually at the bottom, right? Yeah, yeah. Second last from the bottom, actually. Gastric bypass is the last one, right? I've read that flash sheet, I tell you. Yeah. All right. So now we go into the needs analysis questions. Okay, needs analysis questions, folks. Be direct in your questions. Be direct in those questions. You know, when I say be direct, avoid phrases such as, you know, do you mind telling me what your income is per month? Or would you tell me now what? No. You're about 5 to 10 minutes away from showing someone a premium. Okay, you're about 10 minutes away from asking someone to spend money on a monthly basis, right, to insure themselves and their families so that when somebody dies, somebody else can be taken care of. Think about that. You're 10, 15 minutes away, maximum. When you're at the needs analysis questions, make sure you ask direct questions. Make sure your confidence in your voice is that you are supposed to be doing this, okay? A lot of the times, the reason why people don't answer questions for you is because of the way you're asking them, actually, you know? And it's not about having an interrogatory tone, right? But more of a tone of, you know what? Now, John, Mary, what's your monthly take-home pay? John, yours? And I look at the screen and I wait for them to tell me. But if I look at John and Mary and say, John, the next question is your monthly income. So how much do you make? How much do you make per month, approximately? Oh man, ask the question, okay? Don't get shaky at that point in time. Ask direct questions right there and then, okay? Then the next question is life insurance through their job. I typically don't ask that question because if I do my job in the family information guide, I already know whether or not they have insurance through their job. Even if they have, I don't include it in my offer. Reason what is I don't want to take away from any need because we know group insurance is not permanent, okay? It could be there today, but it could be gone tomorrow. So I don't purposely include group insurance in the needs analysis, okay? Because we know the nature of group insurance. They lose their job, what happens to that insurance? It's gone, okay? So I'm not going to include anything that is not permanent there. If they already shared the information about the life insurance, you should have those answers already because you did your family information guide, okay? Us introducing the family information guide made the needs analysis a lot easier, you know? And remember, you've asked many of these questions in the family information guide, so you should have the information already. When it comes to mortgage, we do not present any mortgage product, so you put rent, okay? You may, for your own self, ask if this is their own home, right? I typically have a funny way of asking it that has a 99.9% success ratio, okay? I look at John and Mary and say, this home, guys, is it yours or the bank's or the landlord's, right? And they look at each other and say, it's ours if it's paid. Or they say, no, we still owe money. Oh, I guess it's the bank's. Yeah, the bank's, right? Or they'll proudly say, yeah, it's paid off, you know? Or they'll say it's the landlord's, right? Whatever the case is. That tells me already what their situation is with their home. And I can tell you, 99.9% of the time, I ask that question, I never get an objection there, okay? Because of how I'm asking it, okay? Then children's education should be the next one, am I correct, on that list? We know we don't present any of that, so what you do though, here's what you do. For every child they have, you put $100,000. So there's 3 children on your survey, you put $300,000 there. That automatically waives the children's education video, correct? So that gets waived there, okay? Then after children's education, I think that's it, right? Checking and savings is on top, right? Leave everything on inflation, okay? Don't change it to non-inflation because you can always do that later on. So I would leave everything on inflation, okay?
Right.
Now, you finish your needs analysis, you click submit.
Right.
It'll give you, yeah?
Why do we waive the children's education?
Why?
Yeah.
We've been doing it for a long time.
Okay.
First of all, it's only accidental, and we put the ADB anyway.
If people get it confused with RESP, you don't want to deal with that.
Okay.
People can get it can be confused with RESP. It's the same reason why we don't put mortgage protection, right?
Okay.
You know, yeah, that's right. Okay. Next thing is, what's the next thing? You click submit, yeah. A summary comes at the bottom, right? You got the little screen at the bottom, right? And it tells you exactly what's going to be shown. From this point on, you know exactly what your offer is going to look like. And you should know at this point in time what's going to, because it's telling you there, what's going to come up on your numbers. Now, what you will present on your T has to be constant. So if income protection comes up, you have to put it on the T, okay? That has to go on the T. Income protection, folks, is part of the package. We disservice people by not putting income protection, especially with young kids and families, okay? So ensure that is always there, okay? And I'm going to go through a T example that later on we're going to actually, Victor, can you do me a favor? Can you get Yasmin, just ask Yasmin to bring the easel for the presentation, okay? Now, moving on to the next thing is the mandatory read-off letter comes up, okay? So I'll tell you right now, the only presentation I don't use the mandatory read-off letter in is POS. They're already clients of the company, okay? So I'm not gonna say, well, it's a yes or no today and we're not gonna come back, right? Because that's a lie, first of all, because we will be back, you know, in 6 months or less, okay? So you can't do that on a POS, but you can do it on a, first of all, it's in every presentation, okay? And let me tell you why some of you have a hiccup with closing on the I want to think about it objection, because of this section of the presentation, okay? This is where you can have a 50% closing ratio if you do it right. If you don't do it right, then it's going to be less than that. And that is, you have to negotiate here that they're going to give you a yes or a no today. And you can veer from this, okay? And remember, if you did a good job in your rapport building, if you connected with the client, connected doesn't mean that you got along with them. No, because you can get along with most people. Connected means you made a legitimate connection with them through rapport, through compassion, through wherever you found that was in common with you and them, okay? That's a connection. So when you do that and you do it well, okay, the mandatory read-off letter sets you up for a win. Because what's the number one objection everybody has out there in the field? I want to think about it. If you do this right, you're going to minimize that. I'm not going to say you're going to eliminate it. I am not claiming here that I don't get that objection either. No, I'm not saying that. But I will tell you that it's much more powerful and better for you and them anyway when they know they have to make a decision today. So the way I do my mandatory read-off letter, again, Javier, let me know if I'm on script, okay? So let's just, and I'll do it for the three different lead types. Union, child safe, and referrals, okay? So if it's a union lead, I would say, well, John, this is your mandatory read-off letter. John Mary, this is the mandatory read-off letter. In fact, let me take the one from the union, okay? And if you took out the mail out, it's already in your binder, okay? Every time you get a lead assignment, you get a union letter attached. That union letter has the mail out on one side, and after that, after the mail out has the mandatory read-off letter, which is signed by the president. So what I do is I take the mandatory read-off letter, I put it on a plastic cover, okay? Everybody's seen the binders here, okay? And then I flip it and say, this is your mandatory read-off letter, John. It's actually signed by your president, Sean White. It's addressing all the members. And what it basically says is that after I explain to you these benefits, I answer all your questions. I just have to make sure that you and Mary understand how the program works. At the end, you're going to give us a simple yes or no today. In other words, if the program makes sense to you, go ahead and take advantage of it today. Either way, there's a group report form that goes back to the union just to let them know that I was here and I did my job so you can provide them feedback on these benefits. All right? Does that make sense to you guys? Yes? John? Mary? Yeah? Sounds fair to you? Yes? Mary? Yes? That's it? On script? That's it. That's it. I just negotiated with them what? A yes or no? Today. Today. Now here's the thing. You have to believe that. I believe they should tell me yes or no today. Why? First of all, for themselves. Not for me. For them. Because if they need it, if they need the insurance, they should be purchasing it today. Not next week, not next month, today. Bottom line is they should have had it already, but if they don't have it, it's the right time is today. You know? So I believe they should do it today. If you don't believe they should do it today, I promise you they will convince you of that. Okay? So I basically I made a deal with John and Mary there. And the deal is you're going to give me a simple yes or no today. Doesn't that mean now I have a 50% closing ratio? Right? There's only two things they can tell me, yes or no. Okay? And if they ask the question, do I have to make a decision today? Absolutely. Yes. That's the only two answers you should give. Okay? And if they ask another question, then you can elaborate and say why they should make a decision today. And it should be based on... Okay, good. So, and it should be based on the fact that their family needs it. It's not for our reasons. Okay? Let me give you another tool with the union mandatory read-off. Okay? Once they say yes and yes on that, take the letter, flip the letter to the front section, and show them the statistics of how many yes, yes, 2 yeses from. And by the way, John Mary, you know what? Your union, you know, since 1990, we've been we've paid out more than 25 million. Okay, mute. Thank you. Since 1990, we've paid over $25 million in claims to members of your union, right? Yeah, that's a lot of money, isn't it? Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's it. I'm solid now, and they understand why. And when I can show overwhelming proof to them that people are receiving payment on these things, it's powerful. Okay, that's on the union one, okay? On the child safe one. And by the way, at the end, the report form. You have to be collecting the report forms, okay? That is part of the presentation. And first of all, let me ask you all a question. Why do you think we need those?
Release the pressure on.
Very good answer. So somebody said here to take pressure off us. It's true, but there's more reasons why we need that, and there's a very important reason why we need that. Why do you think you're supposed to collect, and you should be collecting if you're working union leads, okay, which some of you are here and in other offices? You have to be collecting the union officer report form. First of all, it goes back to the PR agent that signed that group. Now, let me ask you, if a group has 10,000 members, do you believe we can make all 10,000 members happy? No, okay? So if 3% of the members aren't happy, let's just say, well, how many members is that? 3% of 10,000 is 300 members. Listen to me now. If we show up with 3,000 report forms that say how good Tong was, how good Christine was, how good Javier was, how good Frank was, how good Nick was, how good Aldina was, how good everybody was, right? That is basically proof to the union that most members are good with us. But we need that proof. And the PR rep will pick up those forms from the office. So you got to be collecting them. It's part of the presentation, first of all. It does take pressure off you on closing because all of a sudden you have an entity behind you, okay, saying the decision should be made today. Do you realize what is the last paragraph of the mandatory read-off letter? The very last paragraph. Yeah. Please take a few minutes to listen to the other representative who is visiting you today. If they can help you with your needs in this area, please take advantage today. It's right there. Okay? And we have a union president signing that paper that you can show it to them. So it's a tremendous tool when used to take pressure off you, right? To prove to them that, listen, we're there to help you. Don't do it for our reasons. Do it for your family. Okay? That's on the union. Okay? So now, let me move on to the child safe one. Pretty much the same thing. Only that there's no mandatory read-off letter from a group. What you explain is this. John Mary, this what's on screen right now, it's called the mandatory read-off letter. It is mandatory for me to explain it to you. And what it basically says, and you go through the same spiel, okay? That after I explain to you these benefits, I answer all of your questions. I just have to make sure you guys understand how the program works. You're going to give us a simple yes or no today. In other words, if the program makes sense to you, as I'm sure it will, go ahead and take advantage of it today. Either way, we're going to get you to fill out this report form that goes back to my company, not the union, my company, to let them know I was here and I did my job and you can provide some feedback. That's it, right? So on a child safe presentation, it can be applied. Same principle, right? On a referral presentation, same principle. John and Mary, the next is the mandatory read-off letter. It is mandatory for me to explain it to you, okay? And what it basically says, same thing, that's it, right? So you have the same psychology, only that instead of the union, it's AIL, right? I promise you when you explain like that, the client's not gonna say, well, hang on,